WNST transition from Stanley Cup into World Cup probably couldn't be any better for me. I mean, get a little breathing, you get 2 sleeps, you wake up, next thing you know, you're in Russia and you're kicking the soccer ball around. Every 4 years, and I get this guy on a lot more often than anybody else in the local media. I'm going to point that out before we get going because I call him more often than every 4 years. He is the UMBC soccer coach. He has been my friend for the better part of a quarter of a century. He's the first person I told that I was going to marry my wife. I don't know why. It was circumstance that day, but I like to tell that story. He has coached in Final Fours. He's still at UMBC doing it over there, even in the afterglow of the basketball team being a bigger deal. We welcome the great Pete Caringi here for his every 4 years we get together and talk about the World Cup. Pete, we don't have to worry about how the U.S. is going to do this year because they're not going to do this year. So usually the first question is, hey, can we get through? Boy, oh boy, oh boy. So, this is where the cold water and the splash of reality begins for, I think, all American soccer fans. The tournament begins and we're not in it, and this is a lot less fun, Pete.
Yeah, it is a lot less fun, Nestor, and, especially, 2 of my teams, obviously the U.S., and a lot of us would support Italy, and I've watched them from every World Cup since I've watched my first World Cup, so it's kind of disappointing that both of those teams aren't in, but having said that, I'm still excited about the World Cup and can't wait for the first game.
You give me a global observation, because I think I chased you around back in the days after not qualifying. And I don't know, you were in the middle of the season. I don't remember having an extensive conversation with you about it, but give me the 50,000 feet that you see. This is all you've ever done for a living. You're the most decorated coach I know of locally, and you've worked with more kids and more camps and talked to more Santinos and, who've done this. And, what's wrong with our program? What's wrong with American soccer, Pete?
Well, I think it's a lot more than a 5-minute conversation, but there is some things wrong, and I think one of the things is development of players. I think the accountability of identifying players. I've been very disappointed in that, and I think the MLS in some respects, because the MLS now is almost making, in my opinion, they're making the mistakes that we made years ago in the old NASL. In the old NASL, we used to have the best players in the world coming over here, and we drew the crowds, but we didn't really do that much for the development of the American player. And now you look at the MLS, and they're bringing over a lot more players from overseas, and the young American player is not developing as much as he should. He should be out there playing. So if you look at the league when it first started, when Santino and those guys, young guys, were playing, when that group went to the World Cup, they were very confident. They were pros. They were young pros. They had experience. And we did well. We did well in the World Cups, qualifying and actually in the event. And now it seems like we're almost went backwards in that sense that, a lot of young American players aren't playing. They're not going overseas to play. So the development of that player and that team and that system is not where it should be. Do we have better players out there? Obviously, no doubt. Is the game grown? No doubt. And the Americans.
But this is not a good reflection upon that. For people that just come out of the rabbit hole every 4 years and look around at the World Cup because it's here and there's nothing else going on this side of golf this weekend and bad baseball around here. I think it's a major it's travesty, quite francly. I mean, I don't.
It is, no question. And the game has grown. I mean, far beyond anything we all imagined years ago. I mean, I recall stories of the World Cup, and I've told you where we had to get a group of us from Hollandtown and go 2 cars and drive over to D.C. to watch games closed circuit. And now every game is televised. Now every bar will be packed, even though the United States is in it, because one, the Americans love watching the World Cup, and it's become an event every 4 years. Unfortunately, not having the United States in it will hurt, but people are going to watch it. People love to watch the World Cup. It's the biggest event in the world. But as far as the American player and American development, there's more players playing now than ever. But I think that the U.S. has to get more ideas. They have to be able to go far in and get other athletes to play. They're missing the link. The development of the player. Too many guys are out there coaching these young kids and just worrying about winning versus the development of the player. So there are some problems. But as far as the quality and as far as the amount of players playing and as far as the sport, I think that the sport has never been bigger or better from that standpoint, and more players playing. And locally, I mean, it's as good as ever. And Baltimore has always been a great soccer town. And if you look at the EPL ratings, it's amazing that Baltimore was number one in the country as far as watching the games on a weekly basis. And we don't even have a pro team here. So it's a huge soccer town here. And I love that part of it. And guys like yourself have been part of that, the reason to that. But we still want, we need to get a pro team here. But from the country standpoint, we need to put ourselves in identifying the best players and for me, putting them out there to play.
He is Pete Caringi. He is a local soccer legend, of course, from Highlandtown. I've been at UMBC now for 20 years. We just let that go at this point. And of course, you can follow him out on Twitter and all things that the dogs are doing as they're barking down there. Give me a little aftermath of the basketball and what that's meant. And let me tell you a couple of stories, okay? And I'm going to tell some tales. And once word gets to Odom over there, he's going to owe me a T-shirt, okay? And right now, I'm wearing the Stanley Cup gear because that's what I do. But by the way, just so you know, I have my UMBC shirt here. Just happens to be on my desk. It's accidental.
I've seen you wear it. I've noticed
it's a little dirty. I wore it after the parade the other day. But either way, I've worn the UMBC soccer shirt that you gave me. I wore that at Disney World with my wife. The tournament was still going on, so it was a week and a half afterward. The story then was Loyola, right? Because Loyola was still playing at that point. But I wore my UMBC shirt around Disney World. Pete, if I didn't have 200 people yell at me, go dogs or retrievers or golden retrievers, because they don't know what a Bay Retriever, Chesapeake Bay Retriever. So I've been representing Retriever Nation. I can't imagine. I walked through Union Station after the parade on Tuesday, and 3 people had UMBC gear on, and I raised my right arm, and I yelled, "Go Dogs!" And they yelled back, "Go Dogs!" So there's a whole different thing that's going on with your university here, and I haven't talked to you about it yet.
It's been crazy. And I know, actually, right after it happened, you tried to get a hold of me, and I was down in Houston visiting my daughter. And I was supposed to go to the game, but if the game was any other time but the last game, I would have been there. And I had tickets, but I couldn't get there for the 9 o'clock games. I had to be in Houston. And the next morning, I was taking a walk and exercising and walking through the streets of Houston, and I was amazed at how many people stopped me and I thought, man, what are they looking at? And they're looking at me and they're pointing at the shirt because I had UMBC soccer, Go Dogs. Go Retrievers. It was amazing. And I had people stop me in the airport. Guy gave me his card and asked me for a T-shirt. He worked down in Houston, and I sent him one. Actually, I sent him a UMBC soccer T-shirt. Don't know who he was, but he gave me his card, and I sent it to him. But
I need a T-shirt. Yeah, when am I getting a T-shirt here?
Huh? Well, I got stuff over here for you. I thought you'd be stopping over soon.
I'm still wearing my Jay Green.
You got all kind of new stuff over here for you, but you've been on your world tour. Every time I turn around, you're in Las Vegas, you're in Tampa, you're with Ovi.
Pete, I had a Stanley Cup to lift, okay?
I understand.
It's been busy.
I totally
think of my loyalty to you and then my loyalty to Coach Trotz.
To recover, and now it's time for you to come back to soccer. That's all.
Who's more loyal to coaches or has done more to promote coaches than me?
The nasty man.
I love coaches. Coaches are what it's all about, man. Tell me how you feel about the Caps thing. You talk about how UMBC sort of infiltrated the world with the huge victory and all that. The Caps have been a nice little local story here, right?
Yeah, it's been a. I'll be honest, because I grew up in as a Baltimore fan, and it's kind of been strange to watch the response of Baltimore and the Capitals, and I've watched every game and during the playoffs. I'm more of a playoff kind of hockey guy rather than the regular season, and I'm happy for all the big Capital supporters like yourself. But it was kind of strange because being a real Baltimore fan, it was kind of initially kind of tough, but.
This is the first time in our lives that Baltimore has sort of adopted a Washington team, right? Like, I mean,
no doubt.
And Baltimore has adopted. You talk about TV ratings,
and it's kind of funny to watch because I go way back to the old Baltimore Colts, Washington Redskins rivalry where, there was a line drawn somewhere in the state, and you supported Baltimore and they supported the Redskins. But, that's kind of that line has been knocked out, and the Capitals truly are a representative of Baltimore because so many fans here support them, and you can see it, and they love them, and they went to the parade, and they go to the games. And I know a lot of my friends are Capital fans, and there's a lot of people here at work wearing their Rock the Red. So, I think it's pretty neat. I'm like I said, I don't really have a big, strong allegiance to hockey, but I enjoyed watching it, and I loved watching the playoffs, that's for sure.
Well, bro, it's no different than, we haven't had a team here in 25 years, right? So,
Yep.
It's like this World Cup. Your Italian guys won't be there cheating and diving and, grabbing their legs and whining and yelling at the officials with their hands. And they won't be, none of that. None of that Buffon and any of that nonsense. But there's no U.S. team either, so we need to adopt, right? So, the guy that saved my wife's life is from Germany. And this is like how it's a small world, right? Like the local kid plays over there in Dortmund. The guy that saved my wife's life is from Dortmund. My wife and I attended soccer games in 2006 in Dortmund. So we're going to get some German gear, some Deutschland stuff, and we're going to support Germany because, well, my wife's life was saved by a German guy, so why not? So you have to sort of adopt. I mean, I want Iceland to do well, right? I always sort of root for Argentina because I like Messi. And, sort of Messi's a little bit like Ovechkin in this, right? Like, he's got to win a cup here, right?
That's why I am rooting for him. I'd love to see him win it because he's just it's a very similar story, that's for sure.
Who else you got? Who's going to win this tournament, Pete?
Brazil. I mean, I think Brazil's going to win it. I think Argentina is somebody I'm rooting for because of Messi. And it's Spain, I think, they've really hurt themselves now that they got rid of their coach the day before the tournament starts. I mean, that's unbelievable to get rid at that level to get rid of your coach that far. And Spain is loaded. But, I'm probably going with a final of Brazil and Germany. That's what I think is going to happen. But
you can have Italian food while you watch the rest of these teams play. All right, we'll do that.
All right, there you go.
Hey, what's going on with your soccer program? I just want to get your plug in here. I mean, we've heard so much about the basketball program. They'll come back in the new arena and all that stuff, but I know you're working hard up on the hill as well.
Yeah, we're expecting, we have a good group back. We had a good recruiting class, and we have some really good home games against some teams that we normally don't play. It's a national schedule. Teams like Air Force are coming in who went to the tournament last year. We're playing two teams that got to the Sweet 16 last year. Playing at College of Charleston. We're playing Rutgers at home, College of Charleston at home. We open up against Temple. They're coached by former University of Maryland assistant coach and one of our players, Brian Rowland. So that's going to be a good opening game. So, and our league is really strong. It's one of the strongest now in the country. So it's going to be a tough schedule. And last year the crowds were great. We were in the top 15 in the country, and we're really doing a lot of promotions right now to get the crowds to come back. And the fields look good. We did a lot of work on it and trying to build the stadium up. So I'm excited, and it's not an easy schedule, but that's where we are now as a program. I don't think we can sit here and not play the toughest teams that we can go against to see where we are as a program.
All right, so, man, I need you to pull some strings over there at UMBC on a lot of issues, you and Levy, but I need to get Freeman Rabowski on the program and just sit down and just talk. I want to do like an hour of just like talking about the world with him. And I've never met him.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I've never met him. I don't know him at all. I don't think he knows me, but certainly I really enjoyed the things he talked about in regard to young people and the universe and our community. I would really enjoy having him on.
He really is a fantastic a person to meet and a fantastic person to be around. And I've been fortunate to have him as my boss, and been fortunate that whenever I ever needed anything that I can count on him. So I think he'd be a great interview for you.
I need more smart people around me, Pete. He's
a fantastic guy, and he really does a lot for this area too. So yeah, maybe get a chance to talk to him and get him to get up. Well, you can do it. Have him come over and talk to you.
Pete, I was a dog before it was cool, but you know that, right? So
I know that.
Yeah, you know.
You don't ever have to tell me that. I fully understand that, and I got some shirts for you, so we'll get that over to you. or come over here now that you're going to be in the soccer
I got to
mode.
get on a yoga mat. I bought this shirt small. It's too small for me. I might be a medium now. I mean, Vegas, they got the buffets out there.
I have a large here for you. I thought you were powerlifting while you were out in Vegas.
No. I'm trimming down. It's summertime. I'm over Planet Fitness for $10, getting it in, man. No worries about it. Take care of yourself. Be good, Pete.
All right, thank you, Nestor.
Pete Caringi.
Always a pleasure, and once again, thanks for everything you do for us.
Every 4 years, we didn't even talk about the U.S. getting the bid. We didn't even. Do you want to throw anything about that or no?
Yeah, I'm ecstatic about that. I mean, the last time that they were here, I was really involved. I did go to the World Cup final in L.A., and I worked the venue over in D.C., so I got to be in the locker room with the players, and my experience with the World Cup was unbelievable. Just being on the field, the practice field with the players and the teams, and being in the locker room, really being one of the only people allowed in the locker room. So that was unbelievable special time for me, and I'm excited about it coming back. And hopefully, we can get some stuff here in Baltimore, even one of the stadium I know they like. And I know we have a great practice field. I mean, every time a national team comes over here, they come over here and train. So we're on that list of venues that they would practice if they came. So there's a lot to be excited about, and there's a lot to be excited about in Baltimore because we have a shot of one hosting, and if not, it'll be here in D.C. and so we'll all be directly involved with the World Cup. That's for sure.
We'll blink and it'll be here 8 years from now. We blink and it's 4 years already, and we're doing World Cup previews around here. Hey, it's one way to qualify, though, right, Pete? Win the bid.
That's the easiest way. That's the easiest way. But let's not blink too much, Nestor. 8 years is a long time, so let's slow the 8 years down. When you've been doing this as long as I have and you have, we'll take it a day at a time.
Let's just qualify.
That's it.
Pete Caringi, the head coach and skipper and czar of all things UMBC. They are not golden retrievers. They're Chesapeake Bay retrievers. Get it right. Great to have World Cup talk around here. I'm going to be talking soccer next week and for the next couple of weeks, mixing in with all the Stanley Cup champion stuff. By the way, at one point I was talking to somebody here, and I looked up on the camera, and I saw the Stanley Cup champs hat on my head, and I hadn't really seen it before. Like, I took a picture the other night, but I actually bought the cap at the parade on Tuesday. Fits kind of nice. Feels nice on my head. And the best part is it says Stanley Cup champs on it, which I love. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.